Hey, how's it going? Boy, do I have a treat for you today. I got here something from Flower Gold Wizards. I did buy this with my own money, but let's take a look and see what we got here. This is his new micro gold sluice. Included some stickers, and of course, beer koozie for the PBR, and the Fridge of Wonder. And we got some instructions. Comes with a nice 3D printed Flower Gold Wizards gold scoop. And I like that it has a hole in the handle. You can hang it up or put it on a keychain. I like that. Here's the sluice box head. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4 zones. So let's get this thing together and see how she works. Alright, we'll grab the directions here. See, honey, I can't read directions. So you need an old bath or beach towel and a rubber mallet. Alright, I don't have a rubber beach towel handy, but I got one of my wife's guest towels. You know, the white ones you're not supposed to use for company. If your guest towels look like this, you'll make sure you don't get any company. So we'll lay that out. Alright, first we'll start out with zone 1. Right here you can kind of see this is really well constructed, really heavy duty, perfect infill. I mean, it just feels really nice. I think it's PLA, it might be PETG. It just feels really nice. You can see down here there's some dots. It's designed to stay assembled once it's assembled, so you don't want to take it apart. But we'll take zone 1 and we'll mate it to zone 2. And it's a really tight fit. So we got ourselves a rubber mallet and give it a couple tippy taps with the mallet. And there we go. Fairly seamless, and this is trying to bend it. There we go, it does come apart a little bit. But yeah, now we'll just continue that. We got zones 2 and 3. So now we'll add 4 and 5, and just as before, we'll set it down. And we'll give it some gentle love taps with the rubber mallet. There we go. Now we got most of it assembled. Now we just have the last section, which is zone 6 and 7. And there's the bottom end of it. We'll set it down. A little bit of a gap, so I'll hit it from the other direction. There we go. Everything is nice and together. It does come with some additional instructions. It says if you would like to glue it together, see the instructions below. They recommend not gluing it before you put it together. I think the fear is you'll get some squeeze out in some of these gaps with the super glue, and that'll, that could interfere with the operation of the sluice. So it does say just pull them apart slightly. I can't get it apart. Yeah, that one's coming apart a little bit. And they say glue the sides and bottom. So I'll just do that. Got my Gorilla Super Glue. I'm just going to apply a little bead. I don't think it'll take much. And then we'll push it together. And there, we don't have any glue there. We got a little bit of glue excess there. We'll just wipe it off. There we go. And I can't get the others apart. So I think we'll just leave it. Just had to glue that one section. And it comes with a sluice box header. It does come with a protective cover here for your hose. They say this is not to be on there, obviously. But they say they do recommend putting it on when you're transporting the sluice. And it has a little bit of a friction fit. So let's try that out. Oh yeah, that looks good. So let's get it set up and see how she works. Alright, we got her all set up here. Let me walk you through what we got. So as you can see, it's a fairly long, takes up most of the workbench. But I got my trough here. I have a little container to catch my tailings. I have my bilge pump here. There's a 600 gallon per hour pump. I had to tape around a little bit because it didn't fit this 3 or inch and a quarter inside diameter hose that's required for this. I did have to go out to Menards and pick that up. I got a sock wrapped around the pump just to make sure no sand gets sucked back in and put back to the sluice. Thank goodness there's no black lights in the shop. And I have it hooked up. It says it requires a speed controller. I have a variable power supply, so I'll just set that to 12 volts and 2.1 amps of current just to simulate a battery, and I'll still run it through the speed controller rather than using the variable power supply. You can see we got the sluice head, the smooth water mini on top of here. It just snaps on. I built this little contraption. It's got a piece of aluminum pipe going through it, and I just built this with some holes just so I could adjust it for different types. I've leveled it side to side. I did have to shim with a little bit of frog tape down there, some painter's tape, just so I could get it level side to side. And I got it on about a 3 to 5 degree pitch. So it's supposed to be run like a Miller table, so fairly flat. You can see down here on the end, I had to clamp this hose as a little, especially when it gets full of water. It wants to jump all over the place. So I had to clamp it down to the side of the container here just to keep it from flapping out. And then this thing wants to walk because the weight of the hose is pulling down the power head. So I just stuck a clamp right here just to keep it from walking there. And I weighted this down with some lead fishing weights to catch our tailings. So what are we going to run through? Well, I got this paydirt. I think I got it from Prospector's Dream. I'm not sure. I've had it a while. I could have gotten it when I got my gold cube and just never ran it. So we'll go ahead and classify this out. It does have quite a bit of large chunks in there. So let's take a look. All right, we'll go ahead and drop this plus cushion mesh strainer stuff in here, and we'll pick through that when we're done. See if we got any nugs. All right, I got this wet. It seems pretty coarse. So not a lot of fine black sands. Now, this sluice really is set up and it's optimized with sawtooth riffles. It's really optimized for flour gold. I just don't have any flour gold samples handy right now, and I've been kind of itching to see what's in this paydirt. So we'll try it now. Later on, I plan on doing some side-by-sides of some of the finishing sluices I've been buying, because I used that DIY ball mill a few months back to crush a bunch of ore samples into powder. So I'll probably run that through the different sluices, see which one has the best capture rate. But for right now, we're just going to test this micro gold cleanup sluice from Jason at Flour Gold Wizards. Alright, so I added some jet dry to the water. I'm going to turn the flow down to the lowest I can get away with. We can always go up from there. Now, one thing I noticed is there's no bubbles anywhere on these riffles. So Jason's right. This is absolutely smooth water flow. This mini, I don't know what the design inside that is, but it's pretty effective. It's just a very smooth flow. And we'll go ahead and use our patented Flour Gold Wizard mini scoop that came with the sluice to go ahead and start feeding it. Alright, so it's still got a lot of the material. I think I need to increase the flow. It's not pushing the material down. And it could be because the material is just too coarse. After running it just for a little bit without moving material through it, I noticed a couple things. I wanted to increase the pitch just so I can move a little bit more material down. So I just moved it up a hole. The nice thing about this is it's adjustable. And again, I just threw some wood together, drilled some holes that fit this, and then just had to use a Dremel to go ahead and embiggen the holes just so I could get this rod in. And I do notice that it does leak. So I'm getting a little bit of leakage here, and that could have been because I didn't have enough pitch on it, so the water was just kind of sitting still. But I did get some leakage out of the head here, and I got some leakage here where I didn't glue it. You can kind of see my fingers wet there. I'll probably go back and glue that one. The ones that I did glue, I didn't get any leakage at all. But what I've seen in other online reviews is they didn't get any leakage without gluing. So it could just be I did a bad job putting it together. So let's go ahead and turn this thing back on and we'll run some material. I just want to show you something here. I've only run about 6 or 7 spoonfuls through. I don't know if you can see that, but I got some gold right there. Some pretty big flakes. And there's quite a bit of gold I can see up in here in the first few zones, Zone 1 and Zone 2. And as I look down at Zones 3, 4, 5, and 6, and even Zone 7, I don't see any gold. So it looks like it's capturing most of the gold, as you'd expect up here, because the gold's heavier, it's going to settle out faster. So let's go ahead and run the rest of this material through, and we'll see what we got. Alright, so I've run about another 10 scoops of material through. I don't know if you can see that, but all the way down here in zone 7 is a big flake of gold. And again, this thing is optimized for flour gold, but I didn't expect to see a big flake make it all the way down. Again, this is some pretty coarse material. I think this would do a lot better with a finer mesh classification. So let's run the rest of it and see what we got. We've run all of our material and our pan's clean, so I think the best way to clean this out is just to hold it up and let the pump move all the material into the pan. Alright, now we got the sluice all cleaned up, so let's go ahead and pan it out and see what we got. Now you might ask yourself, why am I using a blue pan instead of the normal green pan? Well, it's because the blue pan was handy and I was too lazy to go back to the shed. Because if you ever need nothing done, I'm your guy. Alright, so there we go. There's the gold we got out. But I think, none of it's flour gold. This thing's designed to catch flour gold. So let's just see if we missed anything. Alright, so we have all of our tailings panned down. We'll pull this back and see what we got. Alright, so you can see there, we missed quite a bit of gold. If you take a look at some of these pieces, they're fairly chunky. And I think some of these, especially this big piece of wire gold, is probably just too big for those riffles. Oh, I almost forgot. What do we have in the Plus kitchen mesh strainer? Well, looky there. We have 2 chunks, 3 chunks. We got 1, 2, 3 in the Plus kitchen mesh. I really wish I remember where I got this pay dirt. Alright, so what I think of the micro gold cleanup sluice? Well, with the smooth water mini head on here, it's about 32 inches, 34 inches long, something like that, so just about 3 feet. It's a little big for a desktop setup like this. I don't have a whole lot of room on this magical rockler workbench. I think this would be a lot better with a tub setup, and most of the reviews that I've seen have used a tub. So I'm going to switch over to a tub, maybe do this outside or on one of my other workbenches that has a little bit more room. Just a little harder to film over there. And I also think my test was crap. My methodology was just horrible. Basically, I was running river run material, stuff that you'd run in the wild, gravel, through this thing. That's really better for a regular sluice. And I do have some sluices, I just haven't used them in a long time, so I live in Minnesota. We can't use sluice boxes here out in the river. This is a cleanup sluice. This isn't for running your nuggets and your pickers through. This is for running your cons through, your 20 mesh, your 50 mesh, 70 mesh. So I need to do a better job of testing this thing. One of the things I want to do is, if you remember in a previous video, I talked about it earlier, where I have this real fine, this is 70, and I have a 100 and a 200 mesh from the ball mill, DIY ball mill, where I used a rock tumbler and some ball bearings to crush down some ore samples. I think this would be great to test this in, or test on this. It's really well made. Construction is fantastic. I mean, this is for a 3D print. This is much better than anything that I could 3D print. The only other thing I really have to compare it to is this guy here. From my previous reviews, I really like this sluice, and I think this would have done a better job of running the material that I was running, because it has these real deep pockets that could have held on to that larger gold that this missed. And it'd be really neat to see flour gold head to head. Take a known sample amount of flour gold and see which one of these catches it better. I suspect that the micro gold cleanup sluice would do a better job with the flour gold. That's what it's designed for. That's what Jason uses it for. That's what I've seen other people use it for. So I think that would be a much better test. I think it would win out. But I think if you got a little bit bigger, coarser sands, this is really quick, really easy. The Dream Mat just holds on to everything. So I guess the moral of the story is you can't win them all. I did buy this with my own money. I'll throw a link down below to Jason's website so you can buy it. I bought it directly from him. I paid full price. Would I do it again? Absolutely. I think this is going to be fantastic for running this real fine ball mill crushed stuff, as well as the typical gold that we find here in Minnesota and Wisconsin. Well, hopefully you learned something. I know I learned that a cleanup sluice is for cleanup, and not for running river run material or big coarse gravels through. So I guess that's the moral of the story. If you stuck around this long, I really appreciate it. And as always, thanks for watching.